Hi, this is Critical Discussions, episode 27, and this episode is a year in review. And before we get into actual year in review part of this episode, let's quickly discuss a few things that have happened just recently in the past several days. I'm recording this on the 30th of December 2023, and just very recently, essentially Russian, well, I guess you could say like oppositioner, was a Russian politician, was sentenced to 9 years of prison. Ksenia Fadeyeva, former head of opposition figure Alexei Navalny's regional office in the city of Tomsk, it's going to be spending 9 years in prison unless Putin's regime actually, crumbles before that. And she was one of the few people who decided to stay in Russia, which to me just screams stupid, but this was her choice. And apparently for simply trying to run any sort of opposition in Russia, simply for doing political activities. She was essentially um, sentenced by court to 9 years and sort of deemed an extremist essentially, which is exactly the same thing that has been happening in Belarus as well. This is something that a lot of Westerners do not understand, especially when they write something like, "Oh, why don't you protest? Why Russians? Why Belarusians? Don't just topple regimes and things like that." This is why. Because for every action in dictatorship countries, there's gonna be consequences. As soon as you sort of put your head above certain sort of level, you are gonna be targeted by FSB, by KGB, by all of those despicable, essentially accomplices of this regime. Just and this is something that unfortunately a lot of Ukrainian people also don't understand, that Russia and Belarus are not the same as Ukraine, because Ukraine has had and has still quite a lot of corruption, sure, but it was never a dictatorship country. There were changes of regimes, there were protests, and it just never happened the way it happened in Belarus and the way it happened in Russia. So this is just something to hopefully this is just something I hope some people will be able to understand, that she didn't even do anything illegal. She was simply working for an opposition political candidate, Alexei Navalny. Simple as that. And the movement was declared extremist, and now she's sentenced to 9 years in prison. There's one thing. Another somewhat related thing is that for the first time, still a person in school, still a school kid essentially, was sentenced. Just think about it. A person who's still in school, or who just finished school, was finishing school, was sentenced to prison for treason. Just so you understand why. Because he apparently made several photos and apparently sent them to some foreign agencies, foreign governments, whatever it might be. Because he wasn't essentially he disagreed basically with what Russia was doing. And 4 years of penal colony. So yeah. And apparently in Russia, criminal punishment for treason starts at age 16. I don't know if you remember yourself at the age 16 or 18 or even 20 or even 25, for fuck's sake, if you're older than that. But these are not the times that you're making the best decisions. And now a kid essentially is in jail for 4 years simply because he disagreed with what Russia was doing. He didn't kill anybody. He didn't really do anything besides making some photos and sending them somewhere. That's it. So once again, some people in the West, some people even in Ukraine just do not understand that people who live in Russia and in Belarus are dealing with absolutely murderous regimes. And these regimes, they do not only wage war against Ukraine, they do wage war against their own citizens as well. Just wanted to make it clear. Similar news. A woman sentenced to compulsory psychiatric treatment for spreading so-called, Russia calls them fake news, which in reality are actual real news about the war. And Victoria Petrova was arrested and charged with spreading fake news. And in jail, she did not abandon her views. And so some pieces of shit, garbage, absolutely atrocious human beings psychiatric committee evaluated and declared her legally incompetent because she believes that what Russia is doing is absolutely atrocious, and she, I'm assuming, supports Ukraine and wants Ukraine, obviously, to win the war and things like that. And now she has been sentenced to potentially indefinite compulsory psychiatric treatment. Just think about it. If you've ever seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, or, maybe you've experienced something being in a psychiatric ward, or maybe somebody from whoever you might know, have been there. This is potentially even worse than jail, because you are at sole fucking will and whim of those personnel who work there. And they're not good human beings. They're absolutely not. So, once again, just so we understand what kind of regime we're dealing with. And I'm going to link, obviously, all of these news in the video description so you can read more about it. But, yeah. So, if you condemn the war, if you show actual reality of Russia bombing the fuck out of Ukrainian civilian infrastructure, cities, just regular places where people live, rest, eat, whatever, right? You are already like an extremist. And more to that, if you don't abandon these views, not only you go to jail, but you might be locked up at a psychiatric ward. Because this now in Russia, not sort of aligning your views with a fucking party. One Führer, one party. It's literally like Russia has turned into Third Reich. It's a literal fucking fascist country. It's a terrorist state. But there are people who are really standing against this. And they deal with consequences of this thing. And so if at some point you hear that, Russian people don't protest, Belarusian people don't protest, so on and so forth, you must understand that for sticking out, there are consequences like that. And by protesting or whatever, doing that kind of shit, like, you're not going to help anybody. You're not going to help Ukraine to win the war. You're not going to do anything but put yourself into absolute danger. Real and imminent danger. Because if they have your face, they will track you down, and eventually this whole fucking oppressive apparatus will come after you. And no sane person should do that. Because first thing first, and first thing should be your own life and your own safety. So if you see that, like, oh, Russian people don't protest, oh, all Russians support war, no, no, and no, is because people understand the consequences of their actions, and they do not want to end up in the custody of absolute fucking fascist, evil pieces of shit, like police, like the fucking KGBs, prison guards, the fucking psychiatric ward staff, and so on and so forth. You do not want to end up in places where you no longer have freedom, or you cannot even like engage sort of in a fist fight, so to speak. You know, like if there's some kind of a fucking scumbag tries to rob you on the street, you can punch them at least. You can do something. You can defend yourself. Against police, you basically cannot, because resisting the police, essentially, that's already a sentence. Boom. You already got fucking 4 years or 6 years. And then they can brutally fucking torture you, they can rape you, they can do anything with you. And who's gonna help you? Nobody. Literally nobody will help you. So you must do anything and everything to not end up in places where you no longer have freedom. Freedom of movement, freedom of your own sort of bodily autonomy. And this is what a lot of people do not understand. They just don't understand how severe this whole situation is inside of these atrocious fucking dictatorship regimes like Belarus and Russia. People just don't understand, don't realize how bad it is. I hope I'm doing something with these videos. I hope at least some people at some point will get the fucking idea, will get the fucking message. I hope so. And I wish all the strength in the world to these people, to this lady, to Victoria, and to thousands more like her, who have been locked up because of their views, because of their anti-war and anti-Putin position. Their whole lives are ruined. I just hope that they still have life. That they're not gonna get killed there. Which isn't something new either. I just read just a few days ago, 61 years old pensioner woman who was against essentially war was sentenced, and now she died in jail. It just happened a few days ago. People just don't understand the whole severity of this thing, of living in these regimes. So no, when you see some stupid fucking social fucking questionnaire or whatever, social poll, like how many people support fucking party and the leader and the war, and if you see some high numbers, it's all fake, because if you are smart, you will never tell on camera or like to anybody like polling you on the street that you are against the war, that you are against this regime. You will never tell it, because you value your own freedom. You value not getting jailed, not getting killed, not getting tortured, raped, all that fucking shit. You will never, if you're a smart person, you will never tell to anybody what you really think. The people who you can't speak to is maybe like your family members, maybe like few of your closest friends. This is back to USSR 100%, when everything was forbidden and even your neighbors could rat you out and shit like that. It's full back to USSR already has happened, and even worse. It is a fascist fucking Germany, even though it was Nazi Germany. It's a fascist Russia, because Nazis had an ideology. Russia doesn't really have ideology besides this is one big state, we want to fucking kill everybody else, essentially. It's a fascism, almost like word by word dictionary definition of it. So yeah, I just want people to understand this. I just want people to understand that had it not be for this absolute oppressive, disgusting, repressive apparatus that has been created, or rather that hasn't been destroyed properly, when the USSR has collapsed, and the fact that KGB fucking pieces of shit weren't illustrated, weren't like the archives weren't opened for people to actually see the full scale of the atrocities that those pieces of shit committed, because none of that has been properly done, neither in Belarus nor in Russia. That cancer continued to spread, and now we've got what we've got. Yeah. Now then, quickly. Zelensky visited troops on front lines in Avdiivka. Avdiivka, by the way, is one of those, cities, I guess. It's just like, it's hard to call them right now like that because a lot of it has been destroyed, obviously, by Russia. But it's like right at the front line. This is one of the cities right next to Donetsk, not that far away from Lugansk and whatnot, right? This is like right the front lines. Bakhmut, obviously, right next to it. It's like right at the front lines. Russian troops are literally right here, like sort of surrounding at the moment Avdiivka, and the battle for the city has been ongoing for like months, if not like years. I think Russia tried to capture that city, from back in like 2014-15, to no avail still. And now Zelensky himself visited.
Бажаю здоров'я, шановні українці, українки. Авдіївка, наші позиції, наші хлопці. Україна тут захищає свої.
I'm gonna play it all. I'm just gonna leave this, but just to show you what the true leader is. He is literally in like one of the hot spots right now of the war, right at the front line, while piece of shit who started this war sits in Kremlin in some bunker without fucking going outside, essentially, just trembling for his life. This is a true leader. This is a true leader. Russian bunker fucking garbage piece of shit is just a fucking piece of shit. Atrocious human being. So yeah, just wanted to show this because it's important. Speaking of which, Russia just yesterday basically performed massive drone and missile strike, probably the biggest one probably throughout this year, or maybe like for the whole war, maybe even, not sure, but it's definitely been insanely huge. So they used from various sources from 110 to 150 rockets, missiles, and drones, and apparently the only sort of variation of their deadly weapon that they didn't use was missing like a caliber missile. And Kyiv was hit, Dnieper, Lviv, Odessa, Kharkiv, Zaporozhye, Konotop, like basically lots and lots of cities. It's incredible. I mean, it's not incredible because it is believed right now, obviously there's still like rubbles that are rescuers are digging through, but so far it seems like about 15 people have been killed and about 100 wounded. I can't say that it's so hard for me to say that it's somehow like luck that it's only 10 people or 15 people, because obviously it's not only. It is 10 or 15 more people than it should have been, because even a single person's life is, it should be absolutely fucking precious, and it's absolute tragedy when even one person dies, assuming it's not some kind of an absolute vile cunt like fucking Putin or Lukashenko or any other fucking piece of shit dictator. Those lives are fucking valueless. They're worthless. Even more, like, it's like, it would be great celebration if somebody actually fucking killed those pieces of shit. It would be celebration because it would save so many lives of regular, normal human beings, normal people who just want to live lives. So yeah, it just happened. 29th of December. And why it happened? Because a day or two prior, one missile, apparently it was only one, completely blew up the one Russian ship with apparently about like 80 Navy personnel on board. Which, truthfully, like, sometimes I feel like differently about naval personnel versus actual sort of troops on the ground. But they're serving on a military vessel, and who knows? Like, I'm not particularly sure if that vessel actually like launched missiles or not onto Ukraine, but they are serving on a military target, essentially, and that's a legit military target. So the fact that, and apparently they were carrying some kind of explosive cargo, because one rocket, I think it was Shadow, what's the name, Shadow something, right? The UK, missile. It could not destroy so much. It couldn't do so much damage. So apparently they actually hit some kind of a storage with either maybe drones or some other ammunition, and it blew up just like in flames, right? I'm going to include a good video in the description. But this is how Russia does retaliate all the time. So Ukraine sent one missile, destroyed one military object, one military ship, and blew up essentially only military targets, military personnel. No civilians were harmed, nothing of that matter. Russia, the day or two later, launches the full-blown, like, essentially insane sort of missile and drone attack on Ukraine. And only by some luck, it's only like about 10 or 15 dead right now. Could have been way more, obviously. But does Russia do it? Do they launch the missiles on some military objects? No, of course not. It's just civilian infrastructure. It's just civilian buildings. It's like a storage facility. It is just a private sector with just regular houses. It is just regular high-rise buildings in Kyiv. It is again some warehouse, and yeah, this is what Russia always does. It happened before when Ukraine damaged the Crimea bridge. The next day or a couple days later, Russia launched, like, I don't know, 50 or whatever missiles, simply for, like, yeah, just like yeah, they launched it on civilian infrastructure, on regular houses, just indiscriminately, just launch it, and wherever it falls there, essentially. Shopping center in Dnipro, does it look like a fucking military object? No, of course not, because this is just a fucking shopping center. And 6 people died there. Residential neighborhood. Lviv, the same thing. Residential buildings, apartment buildings, school, maternity center, which is just insane. Just regular, again, civilian neighborhoods. This is the look of this war. This is it. That's what it is. All while some fucking MAGA Trumpist pieces of shit do not essentially sign the bill to actually allow transfer of money and ammunition and everything that Ukraine needs to defend themselves. All while doing their own fucking and pushing their own fucking narratives and politics, while people in Ukraine are dying because of the fucking giant terrorist state is trying to destroy them. Is trying to completely destroy them, wipe them out of the existence. And what's even worse is that those sort of rockets and missiles that UK or USA or even Germany gives to Ukraine, they do it with a condition that Ukraine will not launch those rockets on the territory of Russia. Like, what in the fuck are you thinking, you stupid pieces of fuck? What in the fuck are you thinking? So Russia can strike and strike and strike however many times they want. All while Ukraine does have missiles that can go like 200 kilometers free, even maybe even 500. Some people suggested. So they could have completely blew apart the fucking aerodromes where the fighter jets and the strategic bombers are located. Ukraine could have completely fucking wiped out all those pieces of shit, targeting military targets, but in the territory of Russia. But no, not allowed. It's so disgusting. It is so fucking disgusting. It is as if Europe, UK, USA want this war to continue. They don't want Ukraine to win because, they're starting now, right now already their fucking factories to produce more shells, ammunition, blah, blah, blah. It would be so bad if actually Ukraine wins quickly, and then, what do we do then with all these factories and with all those laws that we signed that, let's restart the production of this and that, would be so inconvenient for us. It is so fucking disgusting what they're doing. It's insane. It is fucking insane. All while people have to hide in metro and underground stations. All while Russia can destroy and kill and kill and kill and kill. This is everyday tragedy. Every day it's happening. Every day people in Ukraine are dying while pieces of fucking ballless people without fucking balls in UK, in US, in Europe, in Germany, they still fear some nuclear war. They still feel some they still scared of some retaliation from. What are you fucking talking about? It is Russia. It is Gopnik. It is Gopnik mentality. If you allow them, they will punch you in the fucking back. They will punch you in the back of your head all the fucking time. They will fucking uppercut you when you don't see it coming all the time. It is only when you push back against them, when you fuck them up and fuck them up badly, only then they will understand what's going on. The only language these pieces of shit understand is the language of force. And people from Russia, sort of, who understand Russian mentality, who grew up in the 90s, who understand the mentality, or 70s, 80s, before that, who understand the mentality of Gopniks, who understand how these people operate, how they think, they're fucking screaming from the top of their lungs, give Ukraine everything they need right now and allow them to use the weapons as they fucking choose so. And yet stupid fucks don't understand this still. All while people are dying every fucking day. Ukrainian people who want nothing to do with that. who didn't attack Russia, whose territory, Crimea, was stolen. And even after that, they didn't attack Russia. They didn't do anything. They just want to live their own lives. They want to be in EU. They want to be in NATO. They want to be a good European fucking country. They want nothing to do with a fucking disgusting USSR or wherever came after that. That garbage fucking pieces of shit stupid countries. It's just fucking insane. And for all the screams, for all the, oh, if Russia attacks NATO, NATO will retaliate. It's this time around, like previously, it was Ukrainian missile, Ukrainian basically air defense missile that actually, unfortunately, landed in Poland and I think killed 2 people, if I'm not mistaken. But once again, do not mistake it for Ukrainians' fault. It is fault of Russia because Russia launched missiles against which Ukrainian air defense had to work, basically, or try to intercept it. But now apparently it was Russia's missile that was apparently launched from a territory of Belarus, which is even worse. And so apparently missile flew 40 kilometers into Polish territory, and then it changed its course somehow. I don't know how they're doing it, what kind of a fucking rockets it is. And it was shot down by air defense in Ukraine. So Poland did not even intercept that missile. And all they did is like, oh, note demanding an explanation of the incident. What does Russia say? Russia says that it never happened. It wasn't us. It's all baseless accusations. It's like, while on Twitter, it's like, oh, Poland will fuck up Russia, blah, 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 this and that. While in reality, they're all fucking, tucking their fucking dicks in their asses, essentially. And just playing ball with Russia. Doing nothing. Doing absolutely fucking nothing. It's just disgusting. It's just fucking disgusting. It is such a waste of time, such a waste of human life, of Ukrainian lives. It's just insane. It's such a tragedy. It is such a tragedy that Europeans have completely dropped the ball. USA completely dropped the ball. USA have so fucking much all of ammunition of all sorts just sitting in the fucking warehouses, doing nothing, absolutely fucking nothing. And just because they have some doctrines that they have to have some reserves, and until they kind of can compensate those reserves, they cannot just simply withdraw them and send them, for example, to Ukraine, and all the fucking bunch of bollocks. All because all of those things combined, we get what we get. Ukrainian civilians and military personnel as well, who were civilians just a year ago. A lot of them were doctors, were engineers, programmers, whatever. Now they're on the front lines, trying to defend their country, while the rest of the world just, now it's free Palestine or some fucking other garbage shit, instead of actually supporting Israel, which is another fucking absolute travesty. But in this year of review, 2023, a year in review, we're not really talking about that conflict, because this is more important to me. So yeah. So then, let's actually do a year in review. 2023, a year in review. just quickly, let's go through it. Obviously, October 7, absolute insane massacre happened. Not happened. It didn't just happen. It was carried out by Hamas against Israel and against, once again, civilians. That's what these terrorist regimes are doing all the time. And how they're so similar to each other is that it's always civilians. They're always targeting and attacking civilians. So obviously that started the war against Gaza, against Palestine, against Hamas, essentially, because this is the root of the problem, not just regular people in Gaza. But again, this is unfortunately, like, I don't know enough about all of this. I understand one thing is that right now Israel and Ukraine are in exactly basically this, well, not in exactly, but sort of in a similar position, that terrorists carried out absolutely massacres against them. They didn't want to do anything with that, but now they have to defend themselves. And in case of Israel, now they really need to completely weed out Hamas from Gaza. Totally eliminate all of those pieces of shit who were responsible for what happened on October 7th. And then, I don't know, like, it's so hard, like, because there's so much hate, there's so much propaganda that was spreading in Gaza, obviously throughout, like, Palestine, throughout Muslims, against Israelis, against Jewish people, that it's got to be like a couple generations before anything can change for better, I would say. So it's gonna be a never-ending thing for Israelis, unfortunately. But yeah, if you are one of those who would be marching Free Palestine and shit like that, you are a fucking brain-dead moron. If you don't understand what fucking evil is, and yeah, I don't want tens of thousands or however many, but then again, like, these are the claims that are made by fucking Hamas, that is, 20,000 kids are dead already, which I would call absolute fucking bullshit. Sure, I'm assuming there are a lot of casualties, a lot of civilian casualties, a lot of deaths that are right now occurring because of the strikes that Israel is carrying out. None of that would have happened had it not been for Hamas and their attack against Israel. Just live your life. Fucking United Nations provides you with so much fucking money. That organization is that United Nations should be absolutely disbanded, because it's a waste of time, it's a waste of money, it's a garbage pieces of shit organization who provided so much money and so much, basically, funds in general to Hamas, to fucking terrorists who built tunnels and tunnels and tunnels, who make fucking, like, DIY rockets essentially, and launched them onto territory of Israel. And that was all supported and propped by fucking United Nations. This is so disgusting. That fucking organization is such a fucking useless piece of shit. But yeah, stand with Israel 100%. And just hope that, yeah, there's gonna be as little, hopefully none, obviously, civilian casualties, but unfortunately they're bound to be. There will be, because it's quite a tightly packed region, Gaza Strip, with I think like 2 million people or so. So that's a tragedy. I can't deny it. The tragedy that happened. One tragedy is what happened on October 7th against Israelis, and then another one right now that if civilians are dying, it is a tragedy. Yeah, I hope that war will end up quicker, as quickly as possible. But yeah. Then a lot of Ukrainians have been deported essentially from their own land. As many as 1.6 million Ukrainians may have been deported, which is insane if you think about it. Hundreds of thousands of children may have been deported, have been deported to Russia, and now I'm reading stories that some of them, some of them even tried and successfully escape from Russia, trying to find the way all the way back to Ukraine, to their actual families, and those who unfortunately couldn't do this, they're essentially forced to stay in Russia in new families, and they are fed with a ton of propaganda, essentially saying that, oh, like, Ukraine has abandoned you, your parents has abandoned you, Russia is this like mighty nation or whatever, and they're punished for speaking in Ukrainian language, citing their own sort of whatever, like fairy tales or some things like that, which is insane. If you really if you stop like scrolling whatever garbage shit on Twitter and actually sit and think about this, just how fucking awful that is. This is Russia doing right now in 2023, 2022, 21st century, essentially what I'm trying to say. So yeah. I'm not really gonna cover the news about the rest of the world, sort of, because once again, it's not really about the rest of the world on this channel, not right now, because all those Chinese balloons and bankrupt banks and shit like that, it pales in comparison to what's going on right now. What's going on right now with Russia trying to eliminate the whole nation of Ukraine, the whole country. Like, it all just pales in comparison. There are news, and then there are news, from a capital, and so I can't even like waste my time even talking about any of those things. I'm going to include a few links just for you to sort of take a look essentially at whatever is happening. Yeah. Shifting views of Russian leadership in CS countries from 2021 to 2022. Interesting that it's not 2023. I would have loved to see in 2023 there instead, because I think it would have been even more interesting. But the fact that in countries like Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, even Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Moldova, sort of still about half of the people don't totally disapprove of Russia, kind of insane. Also, I would have loved to see Belarus here to understand how that sort of how that essentially sort of tracks on this chart. No surprise that Ukraine disapproves Russia basically 100%. 95%, Lithuania the same, Georgia, Estonia, Latvia about 80%. No surprise there. Obviously, these are the countries, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia, that were occupied by USSR. Georgia, Russia waged war against it essentially, and with Ukraine it's the same right now. So I don't see any surprises there, to be honest. Yeah, but then like the Reuters have created sort of quite a decent report about the war. I'm gonna include this in the description, and it's a tragedy, and it's an absolute tragedy. So many people, so many young, often young men already died trying to protect their own country. It's just, and unlike in Russia, that sends criminals, like literal people from fucking prisons. They send scumbags, they send pieces of shit to the war. In Ukraine, it's the bravest. It's the crop of the nation, essentially. And like I said, before the start of the war, many of them were just regular civilians doing regular jobs. These are not the people who are criminals who were fucking in prison until they got amnesty to actually go to war and try to invade a neighboring nation and try to kill and murder and rape and destroy and loot and do all those atrocities. No, these are the people who are trying to protect their own families, their own neighbors, their own cities and villages and their own territory, their own land, their own nation. These are the heroes, and so these are the good ones who are dying on the Ukrainian side. Whilst on Russian side, it's mostly pieces of shit, because you need to be a special breed of garbage human if you decide to actually go to war against a sovereign nation just because some cunt in fucking Kremlin who's got more money than God ordered you to do so in the name of some fake pretenses. And you were stupid enough to believe that shit and do that. So it's an absolute tragedy. Absolute tragedy. Destroyed buildings, destroyed lives, destroyed future to some extent as well. Even though the future for Ukraine looks way better and way more promising than for any other countries, but the fact that this is the price that they have to pay, deaths and deaths and deaths, it's insane. It's insane. So much suffering. So much suffering. It is so unfair. And once again, all while Europeans and Americans don't do anything, or rather say, don't do everything they can to stop this war. And they, in fact, do prolong this war. Which is, it's a tragedy. It's an absolute tragedy. So let's just quickly go once again for like a few more sort of photos and just mark a few big events that happened this year, 2023, in this war of Russian war against Ukraine. It was obviously Russia tried to capture Bakhmut for about 9 months or thereabout. And once again, Bakhmut is right here. Just so we understand where it is. They did so eventually, captured Bakhmut after turning it into complete ruins. And by I think living there in the ground about like 20,000 of Russian troops. Most of them apparently were Prigozhin's Wagner group's contractors, or actually even the prisoners. So that's that. Then obviously extreme thing happened in January 2023. I think it happened like almost a year ago. I felt like it was somewhere like in summer, but it was almost a year ago when Russia's X-22 cruise missile just went straight into the regular apartment building, the one that I can right now, basically, the one I will see right now, essentially, more or less similar one, if I open my window and look out of the window. Just a regular apartment civilian building, 9 stories. Just a regular building. And destroying completely the whole section of the building. Just imagine what kind of fucking damage just one fucking rocket can make. This is insane. And it killed, I forgot what it was, but it was a lot of people. Like 80 people or so, I think. And once again, no, not even like any military target in a close proximity, not even close, just a goddamn apartment building. Then obviously there were a lot of just drone strikes and regular strikes on Kiev, on other cities, on Kharkiv, many cities in Ukraine. Zaluzhny, commander-in-chief, actually paid respects to Commander Dmitro Katsubailo, also known as Da Vinci. That happened in March. Then also happened the insane. Did it happen? It did happen somewhere here. That the theater, bombing of a theater. Kakhovska Dam obviously was destroyed by Russia, either due to neglect or because of the controlled sort of demolition of it. And that in and of itself obviously created a huge humanitarian disaster, ecological disaster, but also just in and of itself, this thing killed a lot of people. And the amount of people that died because of the flooding and because of this, because actually not even because of the flooding, but when Ukrainians tried to evacuate Russia, Russian forces actually even fired at both rescuers and people who were trying to escape from certain sort of neighborhoods or positions, whatever. So the amount of people who died because of this might be in hundreds and hundreds, maybe even thousands, but definitely in hundreds, which is another it's just tragedy on another scale, and people tend to forget it already. Seemingly, that this happened. Russia destroyed again, either on purpose or not, but they destroyed because they controlled the dam, and they destroyed it, and they flooded a giant region, totally flooded it. And then they did everything to prohibit people from evacuating from these areas, because they were literally shooting at Ukrainian rescuers. What a fucking disgusting state. How much I want Russia to completely crumble and fall apart into 20 different fucking regions. And if this time around, again, US or EU or whoever else would prohibit this from happening, this would be the most criminal thing that could be done ever, because it should have happened when USSR has collapsed. But instead of leaving everything crumble to dust, United States has prompted essentially that transitioning country regime, well, then later has become a regime, dictatorship regime, but they saved it essentially. I really hope nobody will repeat the same mistake twice. I really hope so. Russia in its current form should not exist because it is a terrorist state in its current form. Simple as that. And then, yeah, in August, it happened in August, Russian missile struck a drum theater in Chernihiv and killed killed people there. And then also Andrei Pishchukov, the advocate of transferring F-16 airplanes to Ukraine, died on August 25. After two, it's just so tragic that it happened to be like two training planes essentially collided near Kiev, and he died without ever being able to fly F-16s in Ukraine and actually help with flying F-16s and destroying some Russian infrastructure and absolute ruins that are Bakhmut now. It's not a city. It's just rubbles and rubbles. There's nothing there, basically. And in August, the Motherland Monument in Kiev that previously had Soviet Union coat of arms, it's been replaced by a trident, Ukrainian trident, which is long overdue, to be honest. So that's a nice little change. Yeah. Something like that. It's and then I'm gonna just include sort of more advanced sort of stats by Wall Street Journal that goes like in a chronological order, January, February, and whatnot. But because there's like a lot of local stuff and sort of United States related things, and also there was this huge earthquake in Turkey, Syria that I also covered it briefly. That was also very, very tragic. Very tragic. Wow, it was in February. It's been like this year flew by so quickly. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. But a lot of things have happened. Obviously, I'm gonna include this link. I'm gonna include this archive link because Wall Street Journal has some paywall but fuck the paywalls. I'm guessing some of you may want to renew a little bit the memories. Yeah, all right. I think Serve, we're gonna end here because and I think we're gonna end essentially on I think we're gonna end on this little thing, a wish list from Meduza's founders, 12 hopes and dreams for each month of 2024. The end of the war. We dream of the day we can retire our live coverage of the war in Ukraine from Meduza's homepage. We dream of peace in the Middle East. We dream that people will start talking instead of killing each other. We dream that those around us will stop ridiculing others who desire and believe in peace. We want a complete end to war, and this is not naive. And I agree. Putin ends up in The Hague. This is this is definitely what I would want to see. Absolutely. And the freedom fighters, they go free. Essentially, those the political prisoners, so on and so forth, right? That they can themselves return home because essentially they are right now in exile because they are wanted as essentially like terrorists, sort of, in Russia. Just 1 month in the year without bad news and without a single news alert. That would be really great. That people start taking climate crisis seriously because the temperatures are rising. An end to killing of journalists, and because it's been happening all over the world. Russia repeals its disgusting discriminatory laws, which they have sort of introduced just recently, just to distract people essentially from the war and give my take on it. That they've done it to distract people from the war and give them something else to talk about, essentially. That Donald Trump isn't re-elected in the United States. Totally agree. If only because it would be just another distraction from what really matters if we're serious about our future. He's a buffoon, he's a piece of shit, he's a garbage human being. I don't want him to be in office 100%. The newsroom celebrates 10th anniversary together with readers, the chance for better laugh and making life plans, and all your wishes come true. Yeah. All right then. Happy holidays. It's been a tough year for a lot of people. For Ukraine, it's been a tough year. It's been the tough end of the year for Israelis. And I just really hope that people in power in the West, in UK, in United States, in Germany, France, all over Europe will wake up finally. Will transfer to Ukraine any weapon they need, and would allow them to use it as they please in the territory of Ukraine or in the territory of Russia. It doesn't matter. If Ukraine wants to strike some military object in the territory of Russia, they must be able to do this. And this will definitely help to end the war quicker, way quicker, than being essentially than fighting with hands tied behind their back, essentially, or fighting with like one left hand when you are a right-handed person and another person fights with two fists. You know what I mean? So I just want people to wake up to the tyranny of Russia, to the tyranny of Lukashenko regime as well, because it is the collaborator essentially in this war and Russia's enabler, and he must be destroyed as well. I would be really glad if both Putin and Lukashenko would end up in Hague on a trial and sentenced to life in prison, and all of the accomplices of their would end up in prison as well, for life in prison without a parole. All those pieces of shit who attacked Ukraine, all those pieces of shit um, who made decisions, who gave orders to launch those missiles, to launch the drones, all those operators who did this, all those pieces of shit, to end up in jail for a life without parole. Yeah, it was a tough year, and I really hope that 2024 will be much better year for everybody. That the wars finally will end, and bad guys essentially would get punishment, appropriate punishment for their crimes, and that peace would finally sort of come to our planet. You know what I mean? Because it's been enough already. It's been enough of the wars, and it seems like 2023 has been only escalating and escalating and escalating in many countries in Africa. Again, Ukraine, Russia's war against Ukraine, now Middle East, like everywhere, wherever you see it, like there's something going on or something new happening. And now it's like South America, Venezuela, wherever, like everywhere around the globe, it seems like shit just hits the fan and hits the fan and hits the fan and continues to do so. And it's because those tyrants, those dictators, those really atrocious pieces of shit, they were never properly punished. And it just has to end. It has to end. It's gotta be like, we are humans in 21st century. We have fucking satellites and internet communication and all this shit, right? We can't fight wars. And if somebody even tries to do so, we should immediately like cut them, totally isolate them economically, take all their money that they've kept, outside of the country and shit like that. And then really would be great if those dictators, those atrocious pieces of shit who decided to start wars, would be killed or somehow put on trial and taken to custody in somewhere like Hague or something, International Criminal Court, that kind of stuff. Because enough is enough. Enough is enough. All right. Happy holidays. Happy, now past already, Christmas, and happy upcoming New Year. May all your good wishes come true in 2024, and yeah, I hope you're all doing well. I hope everything is better, is at least better in 2024 than it's in 2023. And I just wish you all the best. And yeah, talk to you in the next year already. All right. Take care of yourselves, and once again, Happy New Year. Bye bye.